Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all. It's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box with No Lid. A channel I've spent the last few years creating with the hope of exploring and delving into the understandings around the reality of trauma, complex trauma, of removal and placement trauma, the world and reality of adoption and foster care, the world and reality of infant and preverbal early childhood developmental trauma, and all that comes from those early childhood experiences that create and shape people's lives with the hope of creating understandings to build resources, support, and also paths of healing. Now, I draw upon my own personal journey, life, and experiences as I am an adoptee and I was taken at birth, trafficked, and sold as an infant. And I also draw upon my many, many years as an advocate and as a practitioner. The majority of my adult life, I've been doing everything within my ability to try to create understandings within government and agencies and so forth as to what really occurs when you remove children for placement, and how better understanding and support in the hope of putting in resources. It's been largely ignored, but I've done everything I can to try to create this understanding, and hence also stepping into creating these videos in the hope of creating the understanding of the steps that create a person. Because if the person has, fallen into what trauma creates, whether through action or through how they're, treating themselves or see themselves or what they are doing, when the lives collapse and fall down, as so many do, the path back is through understanding what created and what was created by trauma and what was changed by trauma. We can never go back to who we were before those traumatic experiences. And when you're looking at early childhood, pre-verbal, when you're looking at the world and reality that is adoption and foster care, so much is from the moment we are conceived. It's prenatal. It's cross-placental cortisol. It's what I was talking about in the last several videos of my channel. So much happens from our very moment of conception that there isn't a person to go back to. But if we can create these understandings of how we are shaped, then we can start to bring things into our ecology, into our lives. And with the support and co-regulation of the right kinds of people, we can build a life out of survival. We can bridge gaps within relationships. We can save marriages. We can rebuild relationships with children, our children. We can rebuild connections with society and the world as far as we choose and wish to. Now, the up-and-coming animation is Confronting, but it is a real-world confronting. This is a real-world scenario. So take a moment and gather yourself, and I'll be back after the animation.
First day of school, chaos everywhere. The air thick with emotional parents, clinging to children who beg them not to leave, children clutching at parents who aren't ready to let go. In the middle of it all is a child, quietly observing. For them, this isn't just a hard goodbye. It's a replay of their very first day in the world, a day defined by separation, triggered before they even step through the classroom door. Their body slips into shutdown, a nervous system braced for what's to come, locked in survival. Months pass, but the pattern stays the same. Each morning, that child gravitates to the farthest corner, hoping to disappear, praying not to be noticed. They shrink into the background, uncertain, dreading the possibility that someone might speak to them, unsure how they'd respond if someone actually did. Then, one day, the teacher calls their name. Panic floods in, every muscle frozen, every thought tangled. The room feels silent and deafening at the same time. Words won't come. Instead, laughter erupts from classmates pointing, as the warm liquid seeps down their leg. A moment frozen in time, a moment of absolute humiliation, a mark carried for life.
Hey all, as triggering as that little animation was, I can assure you it is a very real world experience. Many of you would have thought back to your school years and that happening to a child, as horrific as that is. But if we take a moment and realize that that particular moment was created through what that child has been through up to that moment, but that moment will dictate the entire life of that child. nothing will change until it is understood. And the amount of work that needs to go into supporting that child to rebuild from an experience as horrific as that, as life affecting as that. There are many paths that come from that kind of experience. But that experience is created when a nervous system is completely overwhelmed. When a nervous system has, from the get-go, with cross-placental cortisol, the experiences around removal and placement and everything that child has gone through up to that point, an adult would struggle to even process. But an infant or a young child is just expected to. That is one of the clear indications of an overwhelmed nervous system. That is one of the clear indications that there is nothing that child will ever learn in school until they are in a place of safe enough to be able to change their lives. That is where the understanding of an intervention needs to come in to help that infant, that young child process and learn to be safe. Part of a dorsal vagal shutdown, part of the complete shutdown when a predator grabs us, is to basically urinate or poop your pants. You'll have a bowel release. That is a natural process and a natural mechanism to protect us from predators. It is not a sign of weakness. It's where the body and nervous systems are going, I cannot escape. And if you have urine and feces on you, you are not palatable to a predator. That is the whole process of it. We are biologically designed to do that. But society and kids and people will focus on the act and humiliate that freaking child, driving a lot of them to the reasons why we have the suicidality we do in teens. It is a natural mechanism, and it's a clear indicator that that child's nervous system is beyond done. That child needs to be removed from threatening environments and supported, and bringing in the closer people to that child. Those adults need to be worked with to understand what they need to do to help that child co-regulate, to teach that child's nervous system to re-regulate down to a safe, not self-soothe and not shut down. There's a lot of things you can do, and in the last few videos of these particular little area of videos that I'm doing, I will really go into exploring it. But for now, we really need to understand that when we see these signs in kids, don't look at what they're doing, look at what the nervous system is responding to. And is that child's nervous system at a point of, I can't do it anymore? Because that's where the most critical interventions are needed, and especially with young children, that is where you can completely change a path, the life that child will live if you intervene in the right way. I'm not talking about taking them and sticking them in an institution. I'm not talking about medicating them until they don't know their own name. I'm talking about physical interaction, physical co-regulation, secure adults with their nervous system guiding that child's nervous system into being safe, into re-engaging with life, and getting that child out of a complete shutdown state, moving through fight or flight back into living. As I said, I'm not talking about removing that kid or medicating that kid. I'm talking about working with them as human being to human being and bring them back into the world, teaching them how to live a life again and to be part of. As always, I love you guys' comments and feedback and engagement. Please be mindful, please be safe, and I will see you all next time.